What's up guys, it's Ryan here, and welcome to this video where we are going to be testing out the brand new Tier 92 wand of the Praesul and Imperium Core. These are dual-wield magic weapons and they cost 4.5 mil to repair. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. What you're looking at right now is a comparison between the stats and the costs of some of the higher tier magic weapons in the game. First off, you've got the Tier 85 Staff of Darkness, the Tier 87 Obliteration, the Tier 90 Seismic set, and the Tier 92 Praesul set, which we'll be focusing on in this video. Now, it's worth noting that although the price of the Praesul set is currently 1.75 bill, the vast majority of that cost is in the wand because 100% of your hit chance is actually calculated by your main hand weapon, so there's no benefit in having a Tier 92 orb other than a slight boost to damage. For that reason, the wand is about 1.55 bill, whereas the orb is only about 200 mil. Okay, so now that we've looked at a stat and cost comparison of different tiers of magic weapons, I think it's gonna be really interesting to take a look and compare the Tier 92 Praesul set to the Tier 92 dual-wield Staff of Sliske. As one would expect, the stats of the Praesul set are exactly the same as the Staff of Sliske in terms of accuracy and ability damage, and for that reason the main discrepancy between the two comes in the form of the basic abilities Concentrated Blast and Sonic Wave. Concentrated Blast can only be used if you're using dual wields like the Praesul set, and if you're using it correctly, you'll cancel it after the first two hits. The end result of this will be an extra 10% critical strike chance on the next attack. Now, on the side of the Staff of Sliske and Sonic Wave, you'll have a 6% accuracy boost on your next attack. Basically what this means is that if you have extremely high accuracy, Praesuls are going to be better damage output. The reason for this is you don't actually need that 6% accuracy bonus on your next attack if your accuracy is already 100%. That being said, your 10% critical strike chance can always be used regardless of your accuracy, and it can always come into play. Now, at the same time, if your accuracy is extremely low, let's say as an extreme example, 50%, even if you've got that 10% critical strike chance, there's still a 50% chance that regardless of if it was going to be a crit, it's going to miss. And you'd benefit a lot more from that extra 6% accuracy. The general consensus with this is that the Praesul set is better damage output whenever you have 94% or greater accuracy. What you're looking at right now is a really cool player-made hit chance calculator made by a player named Chipapa. I spoke to them and they were super cool, and they said that I could use this in a video, so massive thank you for that, but this thing is amazing. First off, it's in the description below. You can click on it. To use the calculator, you select File, you make a copy on the top left, and then it's really simple. All you do is you put in your own stats, your own attack level, strength level, magic level, whatever you're doing, your weapon tier, your attack style, your prayers, and every single option is there. What aura you're using, what scrimshar you're using, what necklace you have on, and it's just anything that could affect your hit chance. At the same time, you've got your special things for Slayer tasks, and then the really cool part is when you go to target monster, they have pretty much every single monster in the game, and you can actually just scroll through it and you can select it and it will tell you right there what your hit chance is going to be. Now, what's even cooler than just a base hit chance calculator is the fact that you can actually choose all of your debuffs once you've selected a boss monster. So let's say, for example, you're going to Angel of Death. Someone on that team or yourself will be using the Guthic Staff to use the Claws of Guthic special attack, which does actually increase your hit chance. You could just click on Claws of Guthics, and then right there you see your brand new updated hit chance on the boss. So it's a really cool tool. I've got it linked in the description below, like I said before. You should definitely check it out if you're looking into buying one of these weapons. But overall, with my particular stats and the gear setup that I choose to use, in most scenarios, I could actually get my hit chance to at least 94%, and a lot of the time I could actually get it above that. So for me, with my particular setup and my particular playstyle, I would actually be better off at a lot of different bosses with the Tier 92 wand and orb over the Staff of Sliske. Now, that being said, there are always exceptions. One of the notable ones with my stats and my gear setup was Yakamaru, where I could not get the hit chance above that 94% threshold. But I think the important thing to note here is I'm not trying to say, oh, this is better than this, or like 100% you shouldn't get a Staff of Sliske, you should get the wand and orb. I'm just trying to make the point that they're very similar. Anytime your hit chance is in the same ballpark as that 94% margin, you're looking at very similar damage output. So on that note, let's get right into the testing video, and the first place we're gonna go is Nex, Angel of Death. Okay, so when we're talking about Angel of Death, this is a boss I've killed a lot. I've got the pet, I've killed it with a ton of different setups, different combat styles. I've done it with Seismics, with a Nox Staff, with a Saren God Bow, with Ascensions, all of those different things. And of all the different setups and combat styles and weapon choices I've used in Angel of Death, the Praesul set was by far my favorite. There were a couple specific reasons why I preferred the Praesuls, but also just overall, everything about it was great. It was convenient, the hit chance was great, the damage output was great, and then in terms of specific reasons, First thing is you've got the Reavers. When the Reavers spawn, the best way to take care of them is to use the Entangle spell on them. They get bound in place and then you get back on Nex. Once they become unentangled, you can just Voke them, and then instead of running towards Nex, they'll just stay on you and you don't need to worry about them at all. The thing that's nice about already wielding dual wield sets is you can actually drop those entangles a lot quicker than if you were wielding a staff. If you wanted to get an entangle on the Reaver at the same speed that I was doing it with my wand and orb, you'd have to switch from your staff to a wand just to drop that entangle and then switch back to your Staff of Sliske. At the same time, if you're using magic at Angel of Death, it's definitely worthwhile to be using vulnerability as often as you can. It's the exact same thing. If you're using a staff, you need to wait quite a while for it to cast. If it splashes, you're wasting a ton of time, and with the Praesul wand and orb, you can just drop them very, very quickly, and if it splashes, which it almost never did, the next one follows it right afterwards. You might be thinking, Angel of Death has a lot of life points, does it really matter that you're getting your Vuln off 0.6 seconds faster than someone wielding a staff? Well, I would say not really, but the place it does kind of come into play is the pillars. The pillars don't have that many life points, and they get dropped pretty quickly, but it's always worth dropping a Vuln on the pillar before the rest of your team gets to it. Your whole team does 10% more damage, and the end result will be that that pillar gets dropped quicker. On the other hand, if you're using a staff and you splash a couple times, you're sitting there for a long time dealing no damage to the pillar, and that's also time that your teammates aren't dealing 10% extra damage, so it does actually come into play just a little bit, and it will slow down your kills ever so slightly. Okay, here's a real quick example of just that. I dropped a Vuln on the pillar, it happened instantly, and then I dropped my Onslaught, and you're gonna see towards the end of this Onslaught, I'm hitting over 11,000. The overall damage output with these things is absolutely great, and obviously it's not required. You can get by with a tier 90 or even a tier 85 at Angel of Death, but if you're on a team where you're trying to get kills as quickly as possible, it is gonna make a nice little difference. Now, there was one other advantage to me using a wand and an orb, and that was the ability to get a really quick, easy, convenient resonance. And you're gonna see right here, if you take a look at this, I heal 4.5k just like that in one game tick. It's instant, it's super quick, and that resonance is so quick that it's actually more effective to switch to my shield for that one game tick and drop a resonance than it would be to lose the adrenaline of having to eat 4,500 life points worth of food. So to summarize, I really liked the Praesul wand and orb at Angel of Death. I'd strongly recommend it, and I'm definitely gonna bring them back there again. Alright, the next boss we're gonna go to is Yakka. I'm also going to mention that last time I tested out tier 92s, I was really focused on getting the video done as quickly as possible, and that completely jeopardized the quality. So this time around, I've actually had the Praesul wand and Imperium Core on my account for over a month. I've been testing them for that entire period of time, and this way, hopefully I can give you guys some more accurate information on how good these weapons actually are. In total, I based 4 full raids with the wand and orb, and I also did DPS for 3 full raids, and my opinion on how good the wand and orb are at raids differs depending on what your role is. First off, some incredibly good bases in the game will base the entire kill just wielding a staff or a wand and orb, and they won't even touch a shield, and if you're one of those people, props to you, power to you, you're incredible at the game, and this part won't apply to you. The vast majority of bases will use a wand and a shield, and they will camp that shield for the majority of the kill, and the one time you'd swap that shield for an orb is when you use Devotion, and then you can drop like an Asphyxiate and a Wild Magic, stuff like that, just to add a little bit of extra damage per second. If you're one of those bases who generally uses a shield for most of the kill as well as a main hand wand, or you're planning on learning how to base, I would strongly recommend this wand. It was absolutely great. The main difference I noticed when tanking with the wand of the Praesul versus something like a Seismic wand was Debilitate. When you're tanking Yakka, Debilitate is an extremely important ability in your rotation. Pretty much what you do is you stack it up with Reflect at the same time, and then for that 10-second period, you only take 25% damage, and it means that you don't have to eat for that entire period of time. Although it did miss on occasion with the Praesul wand, it missed a whole lot less, and it was completely noticeable, and the end result of that is just a lot less food use. If your Debilitate splashes, is it the end of the world? Absolutely not, but it's definitely an easier time when it almost always hits. I gave the wand rave reviews when basing, but the review wasn't quite as positive when you're trying to do DPS. For starters, because Yakka has high defense, you're probably better off being able to use Concentrated Blast with a staff in terms of damage per second. Second off, for a weapon set that costs 1.75 bill, it's definitely not going to compete with all the people who are using Zaros Godsword, so I'd say if Yakka is one of the things that you plan on camping a ton of, and that's like one of the main 1 or 2 bosses you're planning on going to, maybe just get yourself a Zaros Godsword because it's a lot cheaper, it's about $1 bill right now, and on top of that, you'll do more damage. Obviously, the Praesul wand and Imperium Core will be extremely serviceable for DPS at Yakka, and unless you're on like a crazy pro team, no one's gonna have a problem with it. Is it good? Yes. Is it fantastic? No. I definitely wouldn't go out and buy yourself the wand and the orb just for doing raids if you're not planning on learning roles. Okay, next up we went to Rax, and some of my kills were extremely sloppy. I'd get web cocooned, I'd get cleaved 6Ks, and even though some of my kills were extremely sloppy, in the 10 or 15 kills I did, the slowest kill was 5 minutes on the dot, and then the quickest kill was like around 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So overall there was a ton of really good overall consistency, and I've gotta say, the wand of the Praesul and Imperium Core do absolute work at Rax. What you're watching right now is a single sunshine rotation where I did 100,000 damage just in the sunshine by itself, which to me is absolutely ridiculous, especially since there are 7 seconds left on that sunshine. Like, I almost didn't even need planted feet to do that 100,000 damage. That's the sort of consistency that makes every single kill almost identical to the previous one. Every kill was consistent, every kill was smooth. Of my 900 Rax kills, I've done maybe 200 of them with magic, and I've gotta say, this was the smoothest it's ever been. Sort of similar to when I tested out the Staff of Sliske here, just the kills went really quickly. Everything about it was really good, and if you're the type of person who wants to kill Araxxor with magic to get that extra fang chance, well, this wand and orb are definitely worth bringing. Okay, so the next boss I went to was Telos, and when I first bought this wand and orb, I was completely trash at Telos. My highest enraged kill was like 120-ish%. I'd done maybe 10 P5s, and all of them sloppy, all of them like 2 or 3 fonts. So what I did is I actually got this wand, and I said, you know what, we're gonna practice, and we're gonna figure out how to kill Telos the right way, and it went incredibly well. At the final tally, I've actually done over 100 Telos kills with this wand and orb set, and I was not disappointed at all. Here's the thing, if you're doing really high enraged Telos skills, and by high enrage I mean like above 500, 600, 700, and you're streaking like crazy, you're gonna be better off with a staff. The reason you're better off with a staff as a main weapon is so that you can use Sonic Wave before Telos uses the Tendril Grab attack. Because as the enrage increases, the amount of damage you need to deal increases, and so does the amount of damage Telos deals to you and heals. So with that in mind, you want to make sure your accuracy is basically right up at 100. Now, if you're not trying to be lit the second, and maybe you're learning, maybe you're doing just some low streaks from like 0 to 300, it really isn't that crucial, and you're not going to notice that much of a difference for the Tendril attacks, regardless of whether you're using a staff or you're using a wand and orb. Now, one thing I really liked having a wand and orb for was the third phase. In the third phase, every so often things just go terribly wrong. Telos will get stuck in the beam for a long period of time, you'll start getting exploded, and I found it really convenient to be able to just one-click a shield, one-click reflect, and still be able to do damage with my tier 92 wand, and that did help me a couple times. If you're a professional and you don't make mistakes, that's not going to help you at all. It doesn't matter that the switch is more simple, does not make a difference, but for someone like me who's still learning, still getting there, still sort of at the basic start of streaking like 10 or 20 or 30 kills, it's definitely the type of thing that was helpful. Okay, this is another one that definitely falls into the category of something that isn't really important, but as someone who wants to keep things as simple as possible, maybe you're learning, maybe you're not super professional or experienced, being able to land a Vuln as simply as that is really nice. A lot of like really professional people would do like a wand switch just to land the Vuln and then a switch back, and to me, I just enjoy the simplicity of just being able to click it whenever I want to, not have to worry about a switch or anything, and to me that just made everything a little bit easier. As a final verdict on the wand of the Praesul and Imperium Core, I'd give them both a really high grade at Telos. I'm gonna be honest, there's not much negative I can say about this thing. I went from someone who frequently died on P5s and had a lot of trouble getting through those kills, and whose faster kills were like 13, 14 minutes, to someone who could get a Telos kill down in less than 9. Obviously, that's no record, that's not even impressive at all, but to show the progression, it was huge. The extra simplicity of having less switches to worry about made a huge difference, and on top of that, the extra accuracy went a really long way. One spot where the increased accuracy was abundantly obvious was on the 4th phase when you're trying to use a debilitate to halve the damage from the anima bomb attack. With a tier 90, it would miss frequently, I'd say at least every kill or every couple kills, and with the tier 92s, especially when flicking fortitude, it almost never missed. I could go 3 or 4 or 5 kills without missing a debilitate. It's just little things like that that made me really appreciate the tier 92 wand, and if you're someone who's planning on getting into Telos and you've got the money, I would definitely try this thing out. The last boss I went to with the wand of the Praesul and Imperium Core was Virago, and the last time I tested out a tier 92 magic weapon at Rago, it was pretty cringy. I think it was either 5 or 6 man Rago kills, and I think it was like my 4th and 5th and 6th ever kills, so I had no idea what I was doing, and it was pretty evident. And at this point, I'm still a learner, I'm still not incredible at Virago, but I'm a lot better than I was, and the wand and the orb definitely served me quite well. The kills were pretty smooth, there weren't too many failed kills, and overall, it was just a really successful outing of trio Rago kills. It's worth noting my time with this wand and orb was actually my first time ever doing trio kills. I'd done quite a few 4-man kills and I was very comfortable with them, so this was a little bit out of my comfort zone, but overall things went extremely well. Okay, one really quick continuity point. You'll see most of the earlier clips in this video I was using full manual. That's because I now know how to properly use full manual and I have no issues with it. But I actually recorded the Virago clips first, which I know is absolutely terrible because P5 Virago is like the one place where you just absolutely should not be using Revolution, and I was. So anyways, I already know I don't do it anymore, and don't hate me too much. In total, I did about 3 hours of trio Virago kills and then another 3 or 4 hours of 4-man Virago kills, and really nothing to complain about. Some hours were better than others, but overall, I think the one in the orb definitely helped me outperform the incredibly high expectations on my Revo Deeps. We have now tested out the one of the Praesul and Imperium Core in a bunch of different PvM scenarios, but what about player versus player? So I thought we'd head into the wilderness for a couple quick fights and just see how it goes. Also, really quick, if it sounds like I'm half whispering in some of these clips, it's because I am, because people were sleeping. So yeah, don't hate me too much, and yeah, let's do it. Look at this damage I'm doing with the tier 92s, like it's basically unstoppable. He's just basically eating at this point. It's just like the tier 92 staff, just the hits are a little more dispersed so it doesn't look as ridiculous, but trust me, it's just as ridiculous. It's completely insane. Oh, good little punch there. That's how you know I know how to PK. But yeah, let's get right into this. He's still probably gonna kill me, just wait for the right opportunity and take it, but here we go. Oh, that could have been at 501. That's a really, really hard hit with the Gothic staff. Had no idea at all it hit that hard, but I don't think I've eaten yet other than right at the start. And that's just a testament to how good this thing is. Gothic staff and good fight to you. You can absolutely combo like crazy with this tier 92 1 orb. It is just absolutely ridiculous in PvP. It is a lot of fun. All right, here we go. Let's try and do some tier 92 deeps here. Main hand, offhand. I don't know how to do this. And what the heck? I had no idea you could hit that hard with the Gothic staff. Tier 92 deeps right there. That was absolutely ridiculous. Good fight to you, man. That was a ton of fun. Him using the Annihilation. I'm using these tier 92s. Need to be a little quiet because people in my house are sleeping, but what a freaking kill right there. That was beautiful. Also, this is my first time PKing with Fortitude. I've got to say, it is a lot of fun being able to chill in the wildy with like 1240 life points. Makes it really, really hard for me to get rushed, which is actually coming into play more than I thought it would. But yeah, anyways, let's just wait around here, let someone attack me or something. Oh, this 187 guy's going on me. Uh-oh. Land a Vuln, please. There we go, Vuln's landed, and let's get right into this one. This person killed me before. He's also using Enfeeble, so any hit you see would have been 10% higher without the Enfeeble, so just do definitely keep that in mind. Get the kill, please! Oh, 440, should I double? I'm doubling, I don't know. 349, good fight. I don't know if that's a thing you're not supposed to do, I just don't mage PK at all. But at any rate, good fight to you, man. And look at that, first little magic loot there, 740k. We're risking pretty similar stuff, I think, because I'm risking a skeletal set. The only real difference would be the Abbey Wand. And yeah, that was a really good fight. So anyways, let's grab our stuff, get out of here before we get rushed, and we'll head back for another fight. As player versus player weapons, the one of the Praesul and Imperium Core were extremely good in terms of laying down a ton of damage per second. They're extremely accurate, they hit really hard, and they can absolutely tear through anything that's below like tier 85. A lot of the fights I had, I wouldn't have to eat at all, and the person I was fighting would just keep eating until they were out of food and then they would teleport, and that's completely fair. That's exactly what these tier 92s will do. So in terms of KO potential, not quite as exciting as the Staff of Sliske, but still definitely serviceable. Okay, now it's time for me to give you my final verdict on the tier 92 Wand of the Praesul and Imperium Core. I'm going to start off by saying, overall, I would say these are the best tier 92s I've tested. When I tested out the Zaros Godsword, it was great, but there were caveats, and the exact same could be said about the Saren Godbow. Although the Staff of Sliske was absolutely incredible, here's the thing. You can get yourself a tier 92 Wand and Orb set for almost 700 mil less than a Staff of Sliske, and the overall functionality and usability is extremely similar. If you're the type of player who has a ton of money and wants the absolute best at everything, you would still go for that Staff of Sliske and you'd spend that extra 750 mil for a lot of different scenarios, and then you'd use the Wand of the Praesul in some scenarios and the Staff of Sliske in others. Now, that's not super realistic for a lot of players, and a lot of players who are just starting to get to the amount of money where you can start considering tier 92s, the Wand of the Praesul and Imperium Core to me are the best value. That's 700 mil you're saving in going for the Wand and Orb over the Staff of Sliske you can spend on upgrading your gear in other aspects, and for example, that's almost enough money to get yourself a Praesul Codex, which would mean a tier 99 prayer if you didn't already have them. So, for an extremely versatile tier 92 weapon that works almost anywhere, I would say the Wand of the Praesul and Imperium Core are worth it. Anyway guys, that's gonna just about do it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I also wanted to quickly apologize for how long it took me to get this video out. I didn't want to cut too many corners, and I made this video almost entirely during my exams. On that note, my exams have now finished. I'm going away for a couple weeks, so don't expect a video next week, but then after that, I am back home and I'm doing YouTube full-time for the entire summer. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitch if you're interested in streams, and other than that, have a great one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, peace out.